In July, domestic fresh and dry vegetable wholesale prices surged by about 40% over the previous year. Naturally, supermarkets pay that amount to fill their produce section. Is the impact going to be absorbed by the stores, or will it be transferred to you, the customer? In the United States, the cost of vegetables is increasing more quickly than most consumers ever know. Did you notice how much more expensive that bag of greens used to be at Walmart? It used to be less than $3. With costs for basic vegetables rising everywhere in the last several weeks, even Costco is no longer the safe haven it always was. At least 7 of the most popular veggies have seen price increases since the year began, according to recent retail data. In just 30 days, the price of some has almost doubled. But before we go right in, if you're worried about your health, click the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this is where we share the facts that no one talks about. And if you're with me, please let me know. In the comment field, put 1 if you're currently viewing and this video speaks to you. Type 0 otherwise. You are unaware of the significance of your voice. Why? Retaliatory tariffs combined with rising fuel prices are causing supply chain problems. Without much notice, middle-aged workers and retirees in particular are being severely impacted. The following list will detail which vegetables are currently quietly breaking the bank at the nation's largest supermarket chains. Tomatoes have been the standard item in every grocery cart for decades. You never even considered it. Simply extend your hand, throw them in, and go to the next item. But that period may be coming to an end. The identical question began to be asked by consumers in areas like Pennsylvania, Florida, and Ohio only last week. How come a carton of Roma tomatoes that were less than $2 a few weeks ago is now almost $4? Your tomatoes may soon become more expensive, and it may get more difficult to find them at the supermarket. The product is not brand new. There's been no change in the packaging. The cost is the difference, and it has risen above what individuals are prepared to pay on a daily basis. The abruptness of it is what hurts. No red flags. No small statement stating that costs have caused a price hike. Due to the recent increase in tomatoes, consumers were forced to either change their menus or face a higher shopping price. The effect extends beyond the additional financial gain. It affects the meals that are chosen on a daily basis. Tomatoes are more than just another vegetable to many older Americans. They provide the traditional crimson warmth of stews, serve as the foundation for pasta sauces, and lend that subtle tang to salads. The stability of the food starts to falter when an element like that makes you reconsider purchasing it. There's a ripple effect developing. When people switch from fresh to canned tomatoes, they discover that the cost of the canned tomatoes has increased as well. When using pre-made sauces, some people discover that the flavor is different. Compromises are no longer easy when it comes to food. It has turned into a series of consecutive trade-offs. In response, retailers are experimenting with less popular types, such as grape or yellow tomatoes, putting fewer products on the shelf, and implementing fake-feel marketing campaigns. However, when the average price continues to rise each week, none of it is very helpful. For their part, consumers are becoming increasingly wary. They select a few solitary tomatoes rather than purchasing an entire box. They visit weekend farmers markets in the hopes of finding a better bargain rather than sticking to large retailers. However, that frequently results in another cycle. Higher costs correspond to better quality, yet the overall cost remains unchanged. More significantly, a feeling of powerlessness is increasing. Customers begin to doubt the entire supply chain when something as commonplace as a tomato starts to change without warning. How can people expect other items to remain steady if they can't control the price of this tiny red fruit? One piece of advice from consumer finance gurus is to stop making automatic purchases. Change your cooking methods, at least temporarily, if the cost exceeds your comfort level. Careful home cooks are no longer the only ones who keep track on food prices. In an economy where stability has become a luxury, it is a financial survival skill. 2. According to recent USDA data, wholesale prices for lettuce, one of the most popular fresh vegetables in the U.S., have increased by more than 30% in the last 6 weeks alone. Actually, it is among the first products severely impacted by supply chain disruptions and the recently imposed import taxes on Mexican commodities. The most notable aspect is the way that customers are responding. Since lettuce is not a premium food and is simple to grow and ship, it has long been regarded as a difficult-to-inflate foodstuff. However, the cost has now surpassed $5 per person in locations like New York, Michigan, and a large portion of the Midwest, a level not seen since 2008. The underlying causes are profound. First, there's a sharp decline in domestic supply. More than 90% of America's lettuce supply comes from California and Arizona, whose combined production has decreased by more than 25% in the last 3 months. Lack of water and the incapacity to control the dangers of extreme weather are the problems, not a lack of land or manpower. Many smaller farms have completely stopped growing crops as a result of prolonged heat waves and rising irrigation expenditures. The second is the Mexican fresh vegetable import tax. In the past, when demand for salads is at its highest, these imports have stepped in to fill the void. Shipment after shipment has been delayed due to higher taxes and longer customs clearing times. Many of these shipments have been redirected to Canada, which currently provides additional tax benefits for produce from Latin America. Major supermarket chains' secret pricing approach is the third reason that receives less attention. They decrease the weight and quantity of leaves in prepackaged bags rather than increasing the sticker price per head of lettuce. Once enough to last 3 servings, a bag now barely lasts 1 or 2. Customers frequently aren't aware of it until they find themselves purchasing a second bag a few days later. Whether lettuce is worth the cost is not the issue. This leafy green is a daily mainstay of a nutritious diet for a large number of senior Americans. It is used to replace red meat and starches in meals by diabetics, high blood pressure sufferers, and dieters. Long-standing dietary habits, not the wallet, are the first casualties when lettuce costs rise this quickly. Menus no longer feature greens, meals no longer begin with a salad, and confidence in the food system's reliability steadily declines without anyone noticing. Retail distributors' internal projections indicate that if drought conditions continue until September, prices may continue to rise into the 4th quarter. This implies that leafy greens, which were formerly thought of as a basic option, may soon cause consumers to reconsider their selections. Potato bags at big box stores like Walmart, Target, and Winco Foods have been getting lighter over the past few weeks, but most consumers haven't noticed. It's not a result of people eating less. This is because the quality is inferior, the bags are smaller, and the costs are more. Even if each element might not seem like much on its own, when combined, they create a change that is impossible to deny. Currently, the average retail price of potatoes has increased by around 30%, particularly for prepackaged bags. Potatoes, which were formerly a cheap and filling food, are now on the list of groceries that people must carefully consider before adding to their carts. Depending on where you live, even quick mashed potato packets, which are a lifeline for many middle-class families at the end of the month, are now 50 to 70 cents more expensive. It is nearly impossible for weekly consumers to avoid that discrepancy. The most obvious effect is shown in customer behavior rather than the pricing chart. The frequency with which potatoes are used in meals is being reduced by many families. Once commonplace in working-class and senior families, foods like baked potatoes, handmade fries, and potato soup are now unexpectedly becoming luxury goods. To save money, some consumers are moving to smaller bags, purchasing unusual-shaped items, or eliminating potatoes from their shopping list completely. Another result of that is nutritional instability. Not everyone can afford to switch from potatoes to other vegetables, whose prices are also rising at a comparable rate. Many households, particularly older persons who require a light, easily digested, high-energy diet, are left without a viable alternative when potatoes are eliminated. The instability is spreading in terms of distribution. Supermarkets report lower stockpiles because suppliers are placing fewer orders, not because potatoes are selling more quickly. Nowadays, many shelves are either completely vacant or only stock the priciest kind. In densely populated middle-class communities, discount potatoes have virtually vanished. What therefore ought consumers to do? Right now, it's about altering the strategy. Now is the moment to start purchasing by unit price if you previously did it out of habit, or by normal bag size. Don't just buy something because it's on sale. Carefully read the per pound label. To guard against more price fluctuations in the upcoming weeks, think about purchasing extra and freezing a portion if you discover a good deal. The most crucial tip of all is to always keep an eye on your receipts when you purchase. These price hikes are occurring in a fairly systematic, if quiet, uneven manner. The financial repercussions will eventually extend well beyond the kitchen if customers do not pay careful attention to staples like potatoes. 4. Broccoli. In the past, broccoli was often pushed to the side of children's plates, but this has changed in recent years. Many individuals, particularly those over 50 who are becoming more conscious of blood sugar and protein, have gradually made this vegetable a mainstay in their diets. In a short period of time, broccoli has become one of the vegetables that American consumers should reconsider purchasing. In many places, a pound of fresh broccoli now costs more than $3 at stores including Walmart, Publix, and Meijer. This price was unthinkable only a few months ago for such a common produce. Furthermore, a lot of businesses have shifted from offering entire heads to a smaller per-pound option. Not only is this change unexpected, but it is also interfering with household shopping habits. In the past, broccoli was a weekly buy that could be steamed, stir-fried, added to soup, or mixed into a salad. Every time I go to the supermarket now, I hesitate. Is getting it today truly necessary? Or ought I to exchange it for another item? Even while it may not seem like much, that hesitancy is growing. There are pockets of shortages at large chain stores in heavily populated areas including California, Illinois, and Oregon. Only the frozen version is accessible on certain days. Prices go up some weeks, but the quality suffers. 2 days after purchase, heads begin to droop or turn yellow. The pace and unpredictable nature of the price increases here are more remarkable than the fact that they are occurring. Although broccoli is not an uncommon vegetable, it has been acting more like a commodity recently, with price fluctuations more akin to those of seafood. It can be pricey one day and then disappear from the shelves the next. Customers are negatively impacted by this change. Meal planning for the week used to be simple. Broccoli was a dependable, adaptable component that worked well in a variety of recipes and was simple to make. Now, purchasing vegetables calls for the same level of adaptability as purchasing gas. Examine costs, determine how much you really need, and occasionally omit it completely. Broccoli is not as easy to replace as it seems. Not everyone likes bok choy or kale. Carrots and green beans don't always work as stand-ins without changing the meal's nutritional balance or flavor. Right now, adapting rather than waiting for prices to decline is the answer. If your favorite vegetable is out of your price range, you can still keep your spending and nutrition by changing how often you use it rather than eliminating it entirely. Purchasing in bulk through community shares or family combos is an additional choice. These models are beginning to resurface in several Northwest neighborhoods. A once overlooked vegetable is now putting American households' adaptability to the test. Additionally, many families will have to decide whether to cut back on broccoli for financial reasons or keep it for its health benefits if prices continue to rise in the coming weeks. 5. Carrots. Carrots have long been regarded as one of the veggies that can withstand price fluctuations the best. They have had exceptionally great price stability for fresh food over the years, not because they were significantly less expensive. That steadiness is beginning to crumble, and it's crumbling silently. The cost of a 1-pound bag of carrots at Walmart, Target, and other local stores like H-E-B and Wegmans has increased to levels that were considered uncompetitive just 6 months ago. There are no longer the same savings on the larger 2- or 5-pound bags that were once popular with large families and senior citizens. Actually, while the cost remains the same, smaller portions are taking the place of these larger bags in some northern areas. By observing how individuals shop, you can plainly observe the shift. In the past, when a voyage was coming to a conclusion, carrots were thrown into the cart without much thinking. Pre-cut versus entire, washed versus unwashed brands. Occasionally, they return the bag and continue without making a purchase. This price adjustment disturbs routines in addition to eroding budgets. In the past, carrots served as the backup vegetable, versatile, affordable, and simple to store. However, households are compelled to reconsider their entire food plan when even this reliable staple begins to rise rapidly. Many families report giving up texture and freshness in favor of carrots. There is only one option available to those who are unable to replace them due to dietary constraints. Cut down on servings. The impact extends beyond residential kitchens. The cost of salads, side dishes, and carrot juice is being reconsidered by small convenience stores and family-run eateries. They either increase menu prices, decrease portion sizes, or discontinue the item completely. A second ripple effect results from this. At cafes, takeout shops, and office lunches, you're either getting more or less. The immediate guidance. Right now, buying carrots loose rather than pre-bagged makes more sense. Because some shops are increasing inventory turnover, pay special attention to expiration dates. Additionally, spreading the cost with others can be beneficial if your household is able to plan to purchase in bulk from nearby farmers markets. 6. Onions. It may be time to reevaluate your buying habits if you are now a regular cook. Try purchasing onions one at a time, rather than in a 3-pound bag like you used to, or see if you can buy in quantity and split the cost at your local farmer's market with other people. These days, it's more than just pinching pennies. When onions, previously the most affordable and widely used staple, are subtly but obviously pricey, it's a necessary adjustment. Compared to this time last year, the average cost of a pound of white onions has increased by over 40 cents. That might not seem like much, but if you consider that the average American household consumes 3 to 4 pounds each week, the additional monthly expense might be sufficient to pay for another complete dinner. Since onions aren't a main course, this price increase is challenging. At checkout, the price unexpectedly increases, leaving you perplexed as to why. Things are beginning to change. Customers are becoming pickier in states like Arizona, Wisconsin, and New Jersey. No more mindlessly grasping large packages. Nowadays, many carefully choose each bulb. When the price is lower, some people are switching from white onions to red or purple ones. Others have even broadened their preparation or mini-packaged alternatives by using pre-cut dry onions in place of fresh onions. Instead of being placed directly next to the inexpensive produce section, onions are now relegated to the rear and mixed up with goods whose prices fluctuate more. This makes it more difficult for customers to notice price fluctuations and makes it simpler for them to go over their budget. The same strain is manifesting itself in restaurants. Meat thinner may cause the sautéed onion layer to disappear from beef sandwiches. Even worse, there's an unexplained silent price increase for menu items that contain onions. The danger here is that onions aren't often considered a financial risk. They are common, durable, adaptable, and found in almost every kitchen in America. However, that's precisely why their price increase is more severe than anticipated. There's no need to freak out when a basic element is tapped, but be mindful. In your cart, onions might not be the most expensive item yet. They are among the unseen factors that might cause your grocery spend to skyrocket, particularly during a period when food prices are rapidly fluctuating. 7. Bell peppers. The bell pepper is one vegetable that makes a price increase impossible to ignore. On the display sign, the red and yellow bell peppers are large and conspicuous. These days, many shoppers would immediately set it back down, based just on that number. The price of a single red bell pepper in many American supermarkets has increased from $1.19 to over $1.89 in less than 2 months, and in areas like Colorado, Michigan, and California, it has already surpassed $2. The worst part is that consumers, particularly middle-aged and retired shoppers, are finding it more difficult to plan meals as a result of the rise in bell peppers. Traditionally, bell peppers were used as an additional ingredient to offer a bit crunch, color, and sweetness. Now, adding just 2 to a stir-fry can increase the cost of the entire dinner by almost 20%. You cannot overlook that for people who are on security checks and pensions. Many families now choose each of the 3 colors individually rather than purchasing them all at once. Some people just choose green, ignoring the red and yellow completely. Others, at the expense of flavor and freshness, turn to pre-sliced or frozen packs. Some grocery chains are attempting to lessen the blow by selling bell peppers by weight, combining them into set price combinations, or adding them into salad mix packs, but many consumers are removing them entirely from their shopping lists. However, the fundamental issue still exists. No matter how you package it, the majority of consumers can tell that the entire cost is significantly more than it was at this time last year. The impact is not limited to home kitchens. Bell pepper sales are declining in supermarkets, restaurants, and buffets. Other veggies are replacing roasted pepper toppings on pizzas and sandwiches. Where they were formerly a common ingredient in Mexican cuisine or breakfast plates, some locations have completely eliminated roasted peppers. This is the true lesson. Food prices fluctuating is nothing new to Americans. The best course of action for the time being, however, is to buy whole peppers rather than pre-cut ones, timing your purchases to coincide with weekly offers, and, if at all possible, shop with friends or neighbors to divide larger purchases. Each pepper is now more than just an ingredient. It's a test of our ability to adjust to a time where people aren't only concerned with what they can buy to save money. It becomes the extent to which we have no control over this consumer system. Prices are a reflection of trust as much as supply and demand, and you can tell a period of significant upheaval has started when people start to lose faith in the stability of the fundamentals. Based on societal trends, public opinion, and current events, we are investigating, evaluating, and promoting dialogue. We adhere strictly to all federal laws, including the U.S. Constitution. If you have any thoughts about today, please leave a comment so that we may continue the discussion. Additionally, remember to ring the bell, like, and subscribe.